What if I told you that what you say to yourself in the first 5 minutes of your day could be draining your energy, killing your motivation, and blocking your potential without you even realizing it? Yes, it's just words. But words have power, and some, when repeated early in the morning, turn into silent commands that sabotage your mind before you even sip your coffee. Most people say these phrases daily, without questioning, without noticing. And that's why they stay stuck in cycles of exhaustion, guilt, and stagnation. Maybe you're doing this right now without knowing it. Maybe today you already said, "I can't," "I'm tired," or "That's just the way I am." And while they sound harmless, these phrases carry destructive beliefs, ones that install themselves in your thinking like a virus. Stoic philosophy, practiced by minds like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, reveals what no one ever told you. The way you speak to yourself in the morning determines how your mind will react to the world for the rest of the day. In this video, I'll show you the 8 most dangerous words you should never say to yourself when you wake up. And more importantly, I'll teach you how to replace each one with a powerful alternative, inspired by ancient wisdom, stoicism, and modern personal growth. You'll learn how to stay calm, train your mental strength, master your ego, and gain emotional control, starting with what you say when you open your eyes. If you're tired of repeating the same patterns, waking up drained, stuck, or unclear, then watch this video until the end. What you'll discover here may sound simple, but it could completely transform how you start your day and ultimately how you live your life. So go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who needs to stop self-sabotaging every morning. Let's wake up your mind with wisdom. Saying "I can't" may seem harmless, but it's actually one of the first mental traps that sabotage your morning energy. When you repeat that phrase, you condition your brain to give up before even trying. Stoicism teaches actions must come before judgment. Saying "I can't" is like locking your own hands with invisible chains before even getting out of bed. You're programming your mind to fail before taking your first breath of the day. That's why phrases like this drain your mental strength in the first minutes of the morning. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that our perception and discipline shape our reality more than circumstances do. When you say "I can't," you're surrendering to a fragile ego that fears frustration. The Stoic way requires courage to try, even when success seems uncertain. True strength lies in saying, "I don't know how yet, but I'm willing to find out." A practical example: imagine someone saying, "I can't wake up early." They've already trained both body and mind to resist the action. Now flip the script. Waking up early is still hard, but I'll start by getting up 15 minutes earlier and adjust gradually. That simple change creates a new emotional and cognitive pattern. And over time, with stress management and consistency, that new habit starts to feel natural. Many people use this phrase as an excuse to stay where they are, in stagnation. Saying "I can't" temporarily relieves the pressure of responsibility, but silently reinforces a cycle of limitation. Stoicism reminds us that resisting momentary discomfort is wiser than fleeing from it with justifications. Learning to stay calm even when challenged is essential for personal growth and self-mastery. If you're struggling with this mindset, start by observing your first thoughts in the morning. They set the tone for your entire day. The way you talk to yourself when you wake up reveals the level of emotional control you've built. Instead of reinforcing your limitations, speak words that promote inner strength, mental clarity, and peace. The mind needs direction, and if you don't give it, it will default to the path of least resistance. So here's the invitation. Next time you think "I can't," pause, breathe, and say "I'm learning how." Then take action, even a small one. This is the secret behind Stoic living: walking through doubt, acting without needing certainty. And next comes another common excuse your mind clings to when it feels fragile: the feeling of tiredness. "I'm tired." 3 simple words, yet they carry a heavy mental weight when spoken first thing in the morning. When someone repeats this upon waking, they're reinforcing the idea that there's no energy to move forward, even if the body is fully capable. Stoicism teaches that feelings shouldn't be denied, but they also shouldn't define you. Seneca reminds us that often the fatigue we feel comes more from unmanaged thoughts than physical exhaustion. It's true, we all get tired, But saying it early in the day is like strapping an anchor to your back before you've even taken your first step. The brain believes what you tell it. Repeating "I'm tired" extends the feeling. The Stoic response: acknowledge the sensation, but don't identify with it. Try this instead. My body feels slow, but my mind is moving. That shift resets your inner climate and unlocks your mental strength. When you declare "I'm tired," you shut the door to effort. But saying "I'm moving even through the fatigue" activates a vital Stoic virtue: self-discipline. Marcus Aurelius often wrote that he didn't feel like getting up in the morning, but he did it anyway, because his mission was bigger than comfort. Ancient wisdom doesn't dismiss effort, it transforms it into meaning, and that's where your clarity begins to grow. Try building morning rituals that trigger your focus, even on tired days. A short walk, a cold shower, reading a few lines from Seneca, or just 5 minutes of silence and deep breathing. These small practices strengthen your emotional resilience and help you stay calm under pressure. Remember, the body wakes up after the mind does. Don't wait to feel ready. Act first, and readiness will follow. Most importantly, don't feel guilty for being tired. The problem isn't the feeling, it's letting that feeling define your day. The Stoic mindset views fatigue not as a dead end, but as just another obstacle to be overcome. And obstacles exist to be faced, not feared. Learning how to manage that emotion is a critical part of building emotional control and daily resilience. Now notice how fatigue often pairs with another sneaky phrase: it's too late. A tired mind looks for excuses not to act. And this next belief is one of the most damaging when you're trying to regain control of your energy and your life. It's too late. This phrase acts like invisible poison. It paralyzes action and traps you in regret. It often sneaks in during early mornings, when you remember things you failed to do yesterday, last week, or even years ago. But Stoic philosophy reminds us that the past is beyond our reach. What truly exists is now. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You act as if you'll live forever, forgetting the present. And your real power lies right here, in the now." When you say, "it's too late," you're often avoiding the responsibility to restart. That phrase sparks a deep sense of helplessness, making any present attempt feel pointless. Epictetus taught us, it's not the events that harm us, but how we interpret them. Change the story, and you change the result. Try this instead. There's still something I can do today. That one shift in language activates perception, self-discipline, and a renewed sense of control. The truth is, it's never too late when your intention is real. People have turned their lives around at 40, 60, even 80 years old. Whether it's creating a new routine, starting a business, reconnecting with someone, or simply finding inner peace, the decision to begin is what matters. Seneca wrote some of his most powerful reflections late in life. The time you have left is enough, when you use it with awareness. If you feel like you've lost time, don't dwell on it. Convert that frustration into fuel. Grab a piece of paper and write down 3 things you can do today to recover part of what you think you've lost. Call someone you've avoided, start the project you've shelved, or simply take that walk you keep postponing. Stoicism trains us to act through uncertainty. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You act, and that becomes the moment. Mental mastery begins when you realize that too late is just a thought, not a fact. There's no spiritual clock rushing you, only the choice to use the moment wisely. Once that awareness takes root, a new kind of strength is born. The strength to begin from exactly where you are, with what you have, without comparison or self-punishment. And when you do start taking action, even amid discomfort, another trap tends to show up. I hate this. That reaction, though common, blocks your focus and feeds inner resistance. But like everything else, even hatred can be transformed with the right mindset. Let's look at that next. Saying "I hate this" first thing in the morning is like pouring poison into your own mind. It doesn't just express dislike, it activates inner resistance, shuts down your focus, and kills motivation before you even take action. Stoic philosophy teaches us, it's not the thing itself that disturbs us, but how we react to it. When you choose to hate something, you lose your grip on mental control. And once you lose that control, clarity disappears too. The truth is, hatred doesn't change the task. It only intensifies the discomfort. Epictetus said that pain isn't the problem. Our interpretation of the pain is. A practical example, saying "I hate going to work" closes your mind. But changing that to "this is challenging, but necessary right now" reactivates reason over emotion. That small adjustment is like mental medicine. It keeps you calm under pressure and protects your emotional energy. No one is saying you need to love everything you do. Stoicism is realistic, not delusional. But hating the duties you chose, or the ones that are stepping stones to something greater, is like fighting yourself. That's where self-discipline comes in. Instead of focusing on how uncomfortable it is, ask, what can I learn from this? Even the most boring tasks can train patience, focus, or resilience when done consciously. You can turn small obligations into strength training rituals. Hate washing dishes? Turn it into a mindfulness exercise. Hate answering emails? Use it to practice mental clarity and order. The secret isn't to escape what you hate, but to reframe how you see it. Ancient wisdom is about training your mind to find meaning where most people only see inconvenience. That's resilience training, emotional control, and ego mastery in action. On top of that, hate breeds a cycle of negativity. You start your day hating traffic, then your boss, then your meals. Before you know it, the whole day becomes toxic. The Stoic mindset breaks this cycle through reason and focus. Saying, "This is uncomfortable but necessary," is already a step toward inner peace. Swap reactivity for awareness. That's what the wise do in silence. And when you begin to replace hatred with conscious acceptance, a new thought often arises: "I'll never change." This next phrase is even more dangerous, because once you speak it, you start to believe it's your final truth. Let's talk about that now. "I'll never change." This phrase sounds final, like a life sentence. But in truth, it's a dangerous lie we often tell ourselves in moments of frustration or failure. Stoicism teaches us that the human mind is flexible, adaptable, and always capable of renewal. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If you keep repeating that you'll never change, you're training your brain to make it true. But when you say, "I'm under construction," something powerful awakens. Hope. This phrase kills personal growth the moment the day begins. It whispers, "Why try again?" and conditions the brain to stop seeking solutions. The Stoic worldview, on the other hand, believes that virtue can be cultivated, and that self-improvement is a daily choice, not a gift for the lucky few. When you commit to change, even in small steps, you're honoring ancient wisdom and building self-discipline from the inside out. You've likely said this after repeating a bad habit, an outburst of anger, a moment of laziness, a broken promise to yourself. But instead of letting that define you, let it trigger transformation. A simple example. If you often say, "I always lose my temper," flip it to, "I'm learning to control my anger." That one change rewires your identity. 1% better today than yesterday is enough. That's how the philosophy of life in Stoicism works. Progress over perfection. Shifting this mindset takes mental strength and emotional maturity, but it's entirely possible. Start with simple affirmations in the morning. Try saying, "How today I choose growth," or "My mind is learning new ways to respond." These small, consistent mental exercises reprogram your thinking. Neuroscience confirms what Stoics already practiced. You reshape the brain by what you repeat and believe. This is real mental mastery. More than a decision, change is a commitment to the person you're becoming. It's not about erasing your past, but about building a version of yourself that can stay calm under pressure, who acts with reason, not impulse. When you wake up believing you can evolve, you unlock a new source of energy, and what once felt impossible becomes second nature, simply because you trained it. That's the power of perception in motion. Of course, even when you're on the path of change, there's another toxic thought that often slips in. It's not worth it. This next phrase kills motivation before action even begins. Let's break that down next. It's not worth it. This phrase quietly kills ideas before they're born. It sounds reasonable, even protective, but it drains your will to act before you've even begun. Stoicism reminds us that value isn't always in the result. It's in the virtue we build through the action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is worth doing, do it well, even if no one notices." Every small action matters, especially when done with purpose and intention. Saying this in the morning sends a message to your brain: don't bother trying. It signals defeat, turning what could have been momentum into stagnation. But if you want to build mental strength and self-discipline, you have to train yourself to act even when rewards aren't instant. Even something as small as making your bed becomes a Stoic practice when done mindfully and with order. Think of someone who wants to change their life, but looks at the effort and says, "It's not worth it." The truth? It is. Every step counts. A 10-minute walk, reading 2 pages from Seneca, journaling 1 thought each morning. These actions compound. Self-improvement doesn't happen in leaps. It happens through repetition. Like building a muscle, it takes patience, time, and commitment. That's the essence of ancient wisdom. Even in tasks that seem meaningless, something is being trained. When you respond to a dull email kindly, you're practicing emotional control. When you organize your space, you're nurturing mental clarity. When you choose to do something that's uncomfortable but aligned with your higher goals, you're strengthening your discipline and emotional intelligence. The value of your actions isn't always visible, but it's always shaping who you become. Saying, "It's not worth it," is like turning off a ship's engine in the middle of the ocean. You may float, but you'll never reach your destination. Stoic life philosophy says, even if the progress feels small, stay consistent, show up, act with virtue. Because in the end, your biggest breakthroughs will come from the smallest actions you repeated longer than most people were willing to. And just when you begin to see those actions add up, the mind throws in another excuse, one that sounds noble but is deeply deceptive. "I don't have time." Let's talk about that next. I don't have time. It's one of the most widely accepted and socially approved excuses in the modern world. But the truth, as Stoicism teaches, is that the issue is rarely about time. It's about priorities. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You live as if you were destined to live forever, forgetting how quickly time passes." Saying you don't have time is often just another way of saying you're not in control of your mind. Because we always find time for what we truly value. This phrase, when repeated early in the morning, kills productivity, clarity, and inner peace. What it really means is, I've been prioritizing other things without realizing it. The Stoic response is reflection. Where exactly is your time going? Is it being lost to endless scrolling, to distractions, or to solving problems that aren't even yours? Self-discipline begins when you track your time and then consciously redirect it with purpose. If you believe you don't have time to meditate, to read, or to strengthen your emotional intelligence, try this. Track your hours for just 1 day. You'll likely be surprised. You'll find moments wasted on tasks that add no value. That's when the power of perception kicks in. Time didn't disappear. You simply weren't paying attention. This is one of the first steps to stop overreacting and start acting with intention. And here's the good news. You don't need massive chunks of free time to live with purpose. You only need micro habits. 1 paragraph of Seneca in the morning. 3 minutes of silence while breathing deeply. A short reflection while brushing your teeth. The secret is using the gaps, not waiting for ideal conditions. This is how resilience is trained, by making the most of what you have instead of hoping for more. Also, this phrase feeds your ego. Saying "I don't have time" often reflects an inflated sense of being overwhelmed or indispensable. But emotional control means taking full ownership, not outsourcing responsibility. Inner peace is born from mastering your internal time. When you structure your mornings with purpose, you begin your day in command. And those who are in command choose what to ignore, what to focus on, and what to build. But there's still one more phrase, perhaps the most dangerous of all. It sounds harmless, but it shuts the door to growth completely. That's just the way I am. Let's take a closer look at that now. That's just the way I am. It sounds like a simple statement, but in reality, it's a quiet life sentence. This phrase shuts the door on transformation and locks you inside a fixed mindset. Stoicism reminds us that human nature is flexible, disciplined, and capable of constant renewal. Epictetus said, "No one is born wise, wisdom is built." When you say that's just how I am, you're denying your own ability to evolve, to self-improve, and to master your mind. Starting your day with this thought is like telling yourself there's nothing left to learn, nothing new to try. And that goes directly against Stoic life philosophy, which values daily effort toward becoming better than yesterday. A Stoic is not defined by their impulses, but by how they train them. That's why the most powerful thing you can say in the morning is, "I'm always becoming." It activates growth, self-discipline, and conscious transformation. In reality, this phrase often shows up after repeated behavior, explosive anger, procrastination, disorganization. But those are habits, not identity, and habits can be retrained. Example, if you say, "I always lose control," change it to, "I'm learning how to control my anger." Just that adjustment rewires your self-image. You move from fixed identity to active improvement. That's what self-mastery is made of. Ancient wisdom teaches us that the greatest teachers were once the worst students. Emotional intelligence isn't a trait, it's a skill developed through failure, reflection, and the decision not to use personality as a crutch. This applies to everything. How to stay calm, how to ignore negativity, how to deal with insults. The key is understanding that your I am today can become your I was tomorrow, if you're willing to grow. And let's not forget, the ego loves that phrase. The ego wants consistency, even if that means clinging to harmful patterns. But Stoicism breaks that loop. Want to know who you really are? Look at your choices, not your stories. Choose to train, choose to evolve, choose to become. That's mental strength. That's the kind of resilience most people never build, because they keep defending the person they no longer have to be. Now that you've learned these 8 hidden phrases that sabotage your energy each morning, it's time to shift how you begin your day. And that shift starts with one powerful introduction that rewires your perception the moment the video begins. Now that you've learned the 8 words that silently drain your energy every morning, the real question is, what are you going to do with this? Will you keep feeding the same patterns? Or will you use this knowledge as a turning point, changing your mornings one thought at a time? The truth is simple. What you say to yourself when you wake up sets the tone for your entire life. And every single day you have a choice to train your brain with words that activate self-discipline, mental strength, and emotional control. This isn't about perfection. It's about awareness, about recognizing what's been holding you back and shifting your pattern. That's mental mastery. That's Stoic wisdom applied to your real life. So tell me, which of these phrases do you catch yourself saying most often? And which one will you stop using starting tomorrow? Drop your answer in the comments. Your insight might inspire someone else who's quietly fighting the same battle. And if you've made it this far, it means you're ready for the next level of personal development. Remember, you don't need a new year, a Monday, or a sign from the universe. All you need is one decision, the decision to stop repeating what weakens you. Start with your words, then change your habits, and before you know it, your whole life will be different, quietly, calmly, and powerfully. If this message resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new lesson on how to master your mind, your emotions, and your habits. The journey is long, but every morning can be a new beginning if you choose the right words to start with.